Fuck it. Sometimes players die. My name's Dave. Welcome to the Nerdarchy. And, it's funny today. I was talking to a friend of mine who had watched one of my videos. And he's one of the guys from my group. And he's like, I could tell you were forgetting, what happened. Because, I ran that campaign about 14 years ago. And he's like, how could you forget the Minotaur Barbarian that fought with 2 great axes? And not only that, but, that's kind of cool and memorable in itself, right? Because he would wreck shit. But here's the thing. He was like one of the first deaths in my campaigns, so for the guy that reminded me about this and brought it up, it was actually the first character death he had witnessed. It wasn't his character, but my younger brother, Ryan's. And, yeah, our games were a little crazy back then and, a little more whimsical and fantastic on the dark side, I guess, than what we're used to playing now. And, back in the early days, there was a lot more, role-playing versus role-playing. And, that character, he died on the end of a friggin' goblin's lance. Had my players had encountered an ambush. And it was, basically it was like the perfect ambush. They're like going down this pass with, the high mountain sides on either side of them and like a ravine almost. And, next thing you know, goblin archers are popping up and peppering them with arrows and charging down from one end of the pass is goblins mounted on wargs with lances and wearing like full plate armor, which was absolutely ridiculous. I know, because goblins, where would they have full plate armor? And it was just crazy. But it was memorable in the sense that it was that character's, or that for us it was one of our first PC deaths. It was a little bit over the top. Now, this campaign was an evil campaign. My players were evil as fuck, and they were just out for themselves, and they definitely were not the good guys. So I didn't feel too bad about it. But it was, it was that player's first character death. The other player, and he was new to the game, and that was probably, he'd only played a couple games, if that, before then. My other player, he'd been playing for a couple years now, but he'd never experienced, defeat like that. He'd never seen a character die in the game. And trust me, if you haven't played Dungeons and Dragons before, any role-playing game before, it's fucked up when your character dies. It's traumatic, especially the first time. I can remember the first time my elven druid fighter, bit it. I was like, I was probably like 14 when we were playing that game. And I wanted to cry, to be honest with you. Oh, man. I worked so hard to get him up to, like, 7th level. He could finally shape change. And this is Advanced Dungeons and Dragons back in the day. And he friggin' bites it. Ugh, it was devastating. So, I had been playing him for a little while before I had my first character death. My brother, not so long. We'd been playing with those characters for a little while, and I don't really remember all the specifics, but they were tracking down this wizard's tower to confront this wizard, and most likely they were just going to steal his shit, murder him and steal his shit, because, like I said, this party was evil as fuck, and it's kind of what evil characters do, right? Instead of slaying the monsters and taking their stuff, they slay everybody and take their stuff if they can. So two of my players had no experience of with character death, and the other guy, which is more my age, so a little bit older than these guys, and played in some harsh campaigns and knew all about it. Matter of fact, this guy, he's a really good DM. He was a really good DM back in the day, and he would share the chair with me, and he would run sometimes, and I would run sometimes, but his campaigns were just crazy because although he was a really good DM, he was also a little psychotic. It was definitely when we played in his campaign, it was us versus the DM, and there was no mercy. He would do some crazy sick shit. Like, he created these monsters called the Guardians one time, and this was actually another PC death. My PC, my Shadow Gnome Illusionist, right, was a part of this group, and these things, fucking Guardians, they fucking track us down and ambush us when we're making camp, and they just fucking drop wall of fire, wall of ice, wall of force, one after another on us, and that's like the surprise round, right? That's before we even get to do anything. I was just fucking done. My character's obliterated. So, like I said, he's a good DM. The stuff he came up with was really good, but he was psychotic. If you're playing any kind of video game, or if you're familiar with role playing games, where you kind of like build up the crescendo until you finally get to the boss battle at the end, which is supposed to be really hard. Well, this guy, like, every battle with him was the boss battle that you had to just try and survive through, and it just got really hard to be in his game and have any lasting campaign because you're always starting off with new characters, and the way he would do it, if you died and came back, you didn't come back at the same level as the rest of the party. You came back at like half their level if you're lucky. So guess what that set you up? That set you up for some more character death. So characters die, man. It's part of the game. As I matured as a DM and a player, I got better with it. I really, if you're running a D&D game or any kind of game, you don't want to kill your players. You want them to keep going, and you want the game to keep going. But like, the trick is to do that without them feeling like their characters aren't in danger. So every once in a while, you gotta kill a character. You just gotta do it. Like, I don't mean you're gonna alright, mark of death, that guy's going down, he's gonna be fucking dead. No, that's not how you do it. Sometimes there's just gonna be bad die rolls, and there's victims. Or what'll happen is players make stupid mistakes and decisions, and when that happens, sometimes you just gotta you just gotta teach them to make better decisions, and that might cost a character their life. But if a player is just rolling bad, and other than that they're kind of doing everything right, I don't punish them for that, man. I'll even fudge the dice, and try and keep them alive, because, like I said, as I matured and grew as a DM and gamed more and more, you realize certain things. For one, it's not fun to have your fucking character dying all the time, and two, it really screws up your storyline as the DM, especially if the character was important. Because sometimes, like, you'll see, like, when you're gaming, some characters are just more important than others, right? And in my game, how that usually comes about is, those players have poured more into the character. So what happens is, because the players have put so much importance on the character, as a DM, it's easier for me to put importance on those characters. So I want stories to revolve around them. When I create the adventure for my players, I want it to be about their characters, right? So the more they give you, the more information you have, the more you're able to make it about their characters. When you do that, it becomes it's like a cycle, right? They get more and more involved because it's about their characters. It's about it's about them, right? they're like the main characters of a novel, and they feel like that, and that's how it should be, because they are the main characters, right? Every time you build an adventure as the DM, right? It's kind of like if you've ever read one of those pick your own path books. So you're reading that book, and you get to a certain point, you got a choice. There's like two, maybe three things that you can choose to do. Well, gaming's just like that, except for instead of having three choices, you have like 3 million choices. Anything can happen. So that's to me, that's one of the things that's so exciting about this hobby is like it's always changing, it's always evolving. You can run the same scenario time and time again with different players, and it's completely different because they reacted differently. Because they reacted differently than the NPCs, the non-player characters, or the monsters react differently. So from there, it just spins off and creates all kinds of new stories, all kinds of new plot threads that you get to play with and have fun with. Me, I don't like to do a whole lot beforehand with my campaigns. I like to see what my players are doing, right, and just respond to them. In my opinion, that's always the best way to go. It's always made for the best games, because what I see as what some people like to do, and I see it as kind of a mistake or a flaw, is they like to plan out all this elaborate shit, right, and like they just know what's going to happen in this long timetable and timeline. They've got it all worked out, right? Well, what I've learned as a DM and as a player is the players will fuck your shit up. They'll do something you never even thought about, and like, you've got all this stuff from here to here that you've got planned out. Well, they find a way to like skip the first half and go right to the second half. Or they find out, or they figure out they go halfway through and then they're going to do something completely different. So that last half of the stuff you came up with is not even relevant anymore. You're not going to use it. You wasted your time. All right. So this is what I do. I build small and work my way out. Right. And as they move, I move. As they move a little bit more, I move a little bit more. If anything, maybe I might have like paint in broad strokes, something that's going to happen way out. But I just write down a couple sentences, a paragraph at most. I don't go statting a bunch of stuff out. I don't go drawing a bunch of crazy maps that may never get used. I prefer more of a free flow style to my DMing. I might make a flow chart, right, with a couple options on it, like that pick your own path book, right? If they do this will happen. But I don't go crazy with it, because what I've learned over the years of DMing, your players will screw it up, man, every time. You expect them to do one thing, they're going right. They absolutely go left every time. And I don't want to be that DM that gets into the trap of trying to railroad them into doing stuff they don't want to do, because that's not fun either. Part of running a game, being involved in this kind of game, is the fact that it's free flowing. You can do what you want. You have choices. Some of them aren't always good, but you have them, and I don't think it's fair for the DM to try and dictate to them. Matter of fact, right, this actually happened in one of our games. Our DM was so hell-bent on us doing a particular thing, right? This quest, we had to do it. And, he would move heaven and earth to make sure it happened. To the point where he geezed my character, right? If you don't know what it is, a geeze is like a magical curse or compulsion put on you. And, you have to do what you're told, or it'll freaking kill you, right? I don't even think that's it. I think you just don't have a choice. You just gotta do it. It's like you freaking mind control zombie brains. But no, you just gotta do it, right? So, he fucking geezes my character. And man, dude, nothing will piss you off as much as fucking having someone take away your character from you, right? I'd rather have my character say, oh, I'll fucking kill him. Just kill him. Instead of having someone else dictate to you what you're going to do. So, what ended up happening, right? We actually beat the DM. We fucking beat the DM on this one. We beat his ass, punk motherfucker, on this one, because he did all this stuff and eventually geezed my ass to make me do it, right? And like we had this other plan. We were like building a village. We had an army of halflings. It was, we had other plans, right? That quest didn't mean dick to us, even though he put his time through it and decided that's what he was doing and that's what we were going to do. But yeah, you're a player. As a player, sometimes you come up with a different idea for your character, and the DM should be flexible. He should give you the game you want to play to a certain extent. It's got to be cooperative. And if your DM can't give you the game you want to play, and you can't play the game he wants to play, right? You guys need to find a new DM and new players or something, because it just doesn't work, right? But we beat the DM this time. This is what we did. My character was a fighter with orc blood. He wasn't actually a half orc, but his backstory was in his ancestry there was orc blood. So he kind of looked kind of fucked up. Really pointed teeth, gray skin, yellow eyes, ears a little bit pointed, but he's still human. So this character ended up fucking dying, right? That's how I beat the DM. Fucking died. Character died. But it didn't end there. No, because, one of our other players was a high-level druid, and he cast Reincarnate and brought me back as a fucking centaur, which made my character even cooler. And since I was dead, it broke the geese. Because essentially it's a new character when you reincarnate. So we beat the DM, so that was pretty freaking cool. But I guess again, right? What happened? Character death. Characters die, and essentially, what I'm talking about today is death is a part of life, and in a D&D world or any role-playing game, it's you can't really have triumph and victory if there's no risk of failure or defeat. If you can't lose, why bother winning? Is kind of how I feel, and my players know it. If you're playing in my game, there's a possibility your character could die, especially if you do some dumb shit. I'll kill you for that. All right, so no, I'm not all out. Die. But if you make mistakes and you keep making them, well, you gotta. There's consequences. Just like in real life, there's consequences. So I don't know, man. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you like what you heard, hit subscribe. Hit the like button. Leave me some comments below. Tell me about your most gruesome character death. Love to hear about it. Or maybe you think I'm full of shit and the characters shouldn't die. It ain't nice to kill the characters. I don't know. Give me your opinion. Thanks. Take care.